The moment you awaken, the world becomes your enemy. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because you now see what others cannot. When a man begins to think clearly, to perceive beyond illusion, he threatens the comfort of those still asleep. And make no mistake, they will try to pull you back down. Most men rush to share their newfound insight, desperate to be understood. They speak of awakening as if it were a badge to display. But in truth, every word they speak drains power from the experience itself. The more you explain your awakening, the less it belongs to you. Machiavelli warned that truth is never rewarded in a world built on appearances. Silence, not speech, becomes the weapon of the wise. It shields your energy from envy, from judgment, from those who would twist your words to weaken you. If you've begun to see through the illusions of modern life, understand this. Your power grows in direct proportion to your restraint. Most men will never learn this. They will trade their strength for validation and lose everything. But you are not most men. Your silence is your fortress. Modern culture tells men to open up, to be vulnerable, to share their truth. It sounds noble, even enlightened, but beneath the surface lies a subtle form of control. The more a man reveals, the easier he is to manage. Every confession becomes a weapon that others can, and will, use against him. Once, men were taught stoicism. They were trained to master their emotions, to remain composed when the world fell apart. Their silence was not repression. It was discipline. Today, that same silence is labeled toxic, and the man who holds his tongue is told he's emotionally unavailable. Yet look closer. The men who constantly expose their souls are not free. They're addicted to validation. This is the modern confession trap. Social media, therapy culture, and relationship gurus have convinced men that every feeling must be expressed, every thought shared. But the more you explain yourself, the more you lose the mystery that commands respect. A man who narrates his emotions becomes predictable, and predictability is weakness in both love and power. Contrast this with the ancient way. The old warriors, philosophers, and kings knew that words are sacred currency, not to be spent carelessly. They revealed little and acted much. Their silence spoke louder than any declaration. A man's value is not measured by how much he reveals, but by what he withholds. When you stop seeking validation through confession, you reclaim authority over your own mind. You become impenetrable, unreadable, and therefore untouchable. The world says, be open. Machiavelli would whisper otherwise. Be observant. Let others reveal themselves, while you watch quietly from the shadows. For in a society obsessed with oversharing, the man who keeps his mystery becomes the rarest and most powerful presence of all. Machiavelli's central teaching is simple. Men must see the world not as it should be, but as it is. Too many are blinded by idealism. They cling to romantic notions of truth, virtue, and goodwill, projecting these beliefs onto others. But the world is governed by power, not ideals. The sooner you accept this, the sooner you will understand how to navigate it. Machiavelli's genius lay in his dissection of human nature. He understood that beneath the surface of every interaction lies the raw force of self-interest. This is the foundation of power, and it's the reason why, even when you strive for spiritual enlightenment, you must temper your vision with cold realism. The spiritual journey isn't about escaping the world. It's about mastering it. Envy, fear, and ambition rule the hearts of men. These emotions shape everything from politics to personal relationships. When you reveal your inner truth, you expose yourself to these primal forces. What happens when someone sees your light? They are not inspired. They are threatened. The more you reveal your spiritual growth, the more you become a target for envy. Those who are not yet awakened cannot bear to see someone else elevate themselves. They will either try to pull you back down to their level, or worse, use your truth as leverage against you. This is so powerful. The man who shares nothing remains an enigma, a force that others cannot predict or control. By concealing your wisdom and your next move, you stay ahead of those who would use your revelations against you. To speak freely in a world dominated by fear and self-interest is to relinquish your power. Machiavelli understood this better than most. He warned that a man who reveals his mind too openly invites disaster. Even the best of intentions can be twisted, manipulated, or misconstrued when exposed to the jealousy and self-serving tendencies of others. So, while your spiritual path may lead you to higher truths, understand that those truths are most potent when kept hidden. Let the world guess your power. It is only when they are uncertain of your strength that you will truly control it. Point 1. Your deepest spiritual experiences. Mystical awakenings and spiritual experiences are among the most sacred events in a man's life. They are the quiet, intimate moments where the veil between the physical world and deeper truths is lifted. But the moment you attempt to share these experiences, they become subject to the judgment of others, and not the reverence they deserve. The reality is that most people cannot comprehend such experiences. To them, they sound like mere fantasy or delusion. Sharing your sacred moments only invites mockery or, worse, jealousy. Spirituality, by its nature, is a deeply personal journey. To expose it to the scrutiny of the uninitiated is to dilute its power. Contrast this with the way ancient sages and mystics guarded their experiences. Their revelations were not paraded in the public square. Instead, they were kept in silence or shared only with those who were capable of understanding. The spiritual path is not about boasting. It's about walking in quiet confidence. When you speak openly of your deepest experiences, you diminish them, making them vulnerable to ridicule. Thus, protect your sacred revelations. Speak little of your spiritual awakenings, and let them grow in the fertile soil of your own soul. To share them too freely is to turn a divine experience into something profane, something others can manipulate and misunderstand. 2. Your true intentions. In the realm of power, intention is everything, but it's a weapon best kept hidden. A Machiavellian man knows that the less others know of his plans, the less chance they have to thwart them. Revealing your true intentions is an open invitation for sabotage, often from sources you least expect. Even the closest allies can unintentionally destroy your plans, simply because they lack the clarity or vision to understand the true nature of your mission. Once you announce your intentions, you give others the opportunity to interfere, either out of fear, self-interest, or insecurity. Every time you open your mouth about your goals, you make them vulnerable to the expectations, doubts, or misunderstandings of others. Take the example of a business venture. Announcing your grand plan before it's fully realized can lead to unwanted interference, whether it's advice, competition, or even the creation of doubt within your own network. Until the plan is already in motion, there is no value in sharing it. The law of power here is simple. Conceal your purpose until the result is inevitable. Let your actions speak louder than your words. Once the plan is executed, the outcome will reveal your vision. Until then, let others guess. They will underestimate you, and that will always be to your advantage. 3. Your emotional vulnerabilities. Emotional vulnerability is not a strength. It is a liability. While modern culture may encourage men to open up and share their feelings, it ignores a crucial truth. Vulnerability is a weakness that others instinctively exploit. When a man reveals his emotional vulnerabilities, he exposes himself to manipulation, particularly from women and competitors. Women, consciously or unconsciously, are drawn to the strongest, most composed men. When they sense emotional weakness, they may exploit it to control or influence the relationship. Competitors will use your emotional state to manipulate or undermine your position. In both cases, your openness becomes a tool they use against you. A Machiavellian man understands that his emotions are his private domain. He controls his reactions, keeps his true feelings hidden, and never allows others to see him sweat. To be emotionally vulnerable is to give away power, and once you've given it away, you can never get it back. Master emotional restraint. Let your strength be evident in your composure, not in the torrents of your unguarded emotions. A man who is constantly exposed emotionally becomes a predictable, and therefore, weak man. Protect your emotional fortress, and never reveal its cracks to the world. 4. Your financial or strategic moves. Money, power, and strategy are the currencies that govern the world. Yet, revealing your financial or strategic plans is a fatal mistake. The moment you disclose your intentions regarding wealth or influence, you invite envy. Even those closest to you, friends, family, partners, may secretly resent your success, feel threatened by your ambitions, or try to undermine your position. Take a look at any man who has publicly shared his wealth-building strategy. More often than not, the public's response is less about admiration and more about resentment. People feel they should have what you have, and they will judge you for it. They may even feel justified in trying to take it from you, whether through criticism, gossip, or sabotaging your efforts. In Machiavellian terms, the man who guards his financial or strategic moves is not only wise, but he is invulnerable. The less people know about your intentions, the less they can use against you. Whether in business, personal finance, or social maneuvering, secrecy and strategy builds both safety and success. Therefore, protect your financial plans with discretion. Let your results speak for themselves. As long as you're building in silence, your enemies will remain blind to your ascent. 5. The extent of your wisdom or knowledge. There is a dangerous paradox in wisdom. The more you know, the less you should reveal. While you may have unlocked higher truths and gained greater understanding, to speak freely about your enlightenment is to invite conflict with those who are still trapped in ignorance. People resent those who see what they cannot, and those who are blind to truth will attempt to undermine or ridicule the one who carries it. To share your knowledge with the unprepared is to create an intellectual battlefield. You may have reached a level of understanding that frees you, but in the eyes of the uninitiated, you are merely a threat. The more you attempt to explain your wisdom, the more you risk alienating others, even those who claim to respect you. This is why the truly wise man speaks little of his knowledge. He understands that the value of wisdom lies not in flaunting it, but in wielding it quietly, subtly, and at the right time. The most powerful leaders, philosophers, and strategists throughout history were not those who constantly preached their wisdom, but those who practiced it in silence. To be enlightened is to be misunderstood by many. Let others think you ordinary, for in the shadow of the ordinary, you control everything. Only when the moment calls for it do you reveal your true understanding. Until then, remain unseen, and let your silence be the greatest testimony of your wisdom. By understanding and embodying these principles, you move from being just another man to becoming a force of nature, a man who commands respect, attracts power, and never reveals his true self to those who would use it against him. Every word you speak, every truth you reveal, is a potential weapon in the hands of those around you. And in a world where power dynamics are everywhere, in relationships, business, and even friendships, the more you expose yourself, the more you make yourself vulnerable to manipulation. Psychological manipulation is a cold, calculated art. It thrives on knowledge of your weaknesses, your emotions, your desires. When you overshare, you give others the ammunition they need to control or undermine you. What might seem like innocent honesty or emotional openness is, in fact, a way of laying your defenses down. The moment you reveal your insecurities, your fears, or your deepest desires, you give people the ability to exploit them. Take, for example, the man who confesses his vulnerability to a partner, pouring out his fears and insecurities, believing it will create intimacy. In truth, this can open the door for emotional leverage. The partner may, consciously or subconsciously, use this knowledge to manipulate him, exploiting his weaknesses in times of conflict or using his emotional state to dictate the terms of the relationship. The same happens in business or social circles. The man who reveals his financial struggles, his career insecurities, or his personal goals becomes a target for those who can manipulate his situation. Competitors will see opportunities to sabotage him. Even well-meaning friends may unintentionally undermine his progress out of jealousy or fear. Consider the case of a once promising entrepreneur who shared every step of his journey online. He revealed his business plans, his dreams, his personal challenges, believing it would garner support and admiration. Instead, it opened the door for competitors to copy his ideas, detractors to question his abilities, and opportunists to capitalize on his vulnerabilities. Within months, He found himself losing respect in the marketplace and feeling exposed on all sides. His transparency, which he thought would build trust, became his undoing. This is the psychological cost of exposure. The vulnerability you offer becomes ammunition for others. Silence, in contrast, is armor. It is not secrecy. It is the shield that protects your power. When you choose to speak less, you create a space where others cannot manipulate your truths. By remaining unreadable and unpredictable, you protect not just your inner peace, but your entire strategy. Remember, silence is not weakness. It is a strategic weapon. In a world full of wolves, the man who remains silent holds the advantage, because while others expose their hearts and minds, he guards his, making him untouchable. Imagine a man who walks through the world unnoticed. He is not loud, not boastful, not seeking the spotlight, yet his presence commands respect. His silence is not emptiness. It is a reservoir of power. This is the path of the hidden sage, the man who embodies mystery, calm, and sovereignty. To live as the hidden sage is to adopt a mindset of strategic stillness. Instead of reacting to every emotion or situation, you observe. You study. You listen. You learn. You control your impulses, your need for validation, and your desire to be seen. In a world obsessed with oversharing, the man who remains quiet becomes an enigma, a force that others cannot define or manipulate. Practical steps to embody the hidden sage: meditation and mindfulness. The first step is mental discipline. Through regular meditation, you can quiet the mind, detach from the noise of the world, and sharpen your focus. Meditation is not just about relaxation. It's about gaining control over your inner world, when you can sit still without the need to justify your thoughts or feelings. You achieve clarity and emotional resilience. You begin to understand that you don't need to explain yourself to anyone. The less you seek external validation, the more grounded you become in your own truth. Detach from validation. The hidden sage is not interested in applause or approval. His power comes from within. To detach from validation, you must stop measuring your worth by the opinions of others. This means avoiding the trap of social media validation, seeking praise, or revealing personal struggles for sympathy. Instead, understand that your worth is not for public consumption. You are not here to appease others, but to shape your own destiny. Become an observer, not an expressor. The sage does not feel the need to express every thought, idea, or emotion. Instead, he observes the world around him with keen perception, taking in information without rushing to comment. This practice of observation over expression allows you to understand others deeply, their motives, fears, and desires, without revealing your own hand. When you speak, it is with purpose, not to fill silence. When you act, it is with clarity, not reaction. Living as the hidden sage requires a transformation. It's not about denying who you are or suppressing your truth. It's about understanding the power of silence and the strength of self-mastery. By embracing stillness and becoming less reactive, you shift from a man who is constantly at the mercy of external forces to a man who moves through life with purpose, control, and an aura of mystery. In this world of noise, you will rise above. Your silence will speak louder than any words ever could. And that silence, that powerful, unshakable calm, will make you unstoppable. You've just uncovered 5 powerful truths that most men will never understand, and even fewer will ever practice. First, guard your deepest spiritual experiences, for they are sacred, and sharing them with the wrong people only invites mockery. Second, conceal your true intentions, for the moment you reveal your plans, you give others the power to thwart them. Third, master your emotional vulnerabilities, because weakness is not a bridge to intimacy, it's a target for manipulation. Fourth, keep your financial and strategic moves private, for envy will always follow success, even from those who claim to love you. And finally, never fully reveal your wisdom or knowledge, for those who are blind to truth will always resent those who see. Here's the truth. Most men will reveal everything and die unheard. Their words will be lost in the noise, their truths twisted, their power dissipated. But the few who learn to guard their silence, who embrace the stillness, the mystery, and the calm discipline of the Machiavellian sage will rule quietly, from the shadows, in a way that others cannot even comprehend. Now, it's time for you to make a choice. Will you continue to speak without thinking, to expose yourself to the world's judgment, or will you cultivate a quiet, unseen strength? Your journey to true power begins with your ability to master your speech, your silence, and your mind. Become the man who speaks without speaking. Let your silence be your strength, your mystery your weapon, and your wisdom your unspoken rule. The world will hear you, even when you never say a word.